Bangwanani Malelepo Fukeljani Klekwas Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You're joined by Ashton Berry and Glenora Shipura. How are you, Glenn?
I'm doing very well. You look very nice.
Thank you, as do you.
Yes, I was waiting for my compliment.
Yes, it's arrived, yes indeed.
Getting into what you can expect in today's broadcast. SA tops a list of 10 African cities with the highest crime index rate at the start of 2024. YouTube deletes Emmanuel TV channel of disgraced mega church leader. And Sadc rejects call to declare cholera a health emergency. A little bit later on, we'll be talking to Mike Sichula, who'll be filling us in on the latest news in Zambia. To stay tuned for this and more on Africa Good Morning.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
All right, let's get straight into our top story. Crime has a global reach and Africa is not exempt from its impact. The continent grapples with crime rates influenced by socio-economic disparities. Factors such as poverty, limited educational access, and economic inequality contribute to a climate where some individuals resort to illicit activities for survival. The crime rate is calculated as the number of offenses per capita per year, offering insights into the safety of a particular area. Rank City Country Crime Index Global ranks Pretoria as the most dangerous city in Africa and the second most dangerous city in the world. Durban occupies the second spot on the continent and third in the world, while Johannesburg ranks third on the continent and fourth in the world. Port Elizabeth is fourth on the continent and eighth in the world, while Cape Town is ranked fifth on the continent and 16th worldwide. The bottom half ranks Lagos, Nigeria as the sixth most dangerous city in the continent, followed by Namibia's capital Windhoek in seventh place and Zimbabwe's Harare in eighth position. Ninth on this ranking is Kenya's Nairobi, ranked 67th in the world, and lastly, Casablanca in Morocco occupies the 10th spot.
In our next story, YouTube has terminated the official channel of disgraced Nigerian televangelist TB Joshua's mega church for violating its hate speech policies. It comes weeks after an investigation by the BBC and Open Democracy uncovered evidence of widespread sexual abuse and torture by the late preacher. Emmanuel TV played a key role in his rise from local pastor to global star. TB Joshua died in 2021, but his synagogue church of all nations is now run by his wife, Evelyn Joshua. The church has not commented on the removal, but has said previous allegations of wrongdoing have been unfounded. Emmanuel TV had more than 500,000 followers on YouTube and hundreds of millions of views. This is the second time in 3 years that its YouTube channel has been suspended, following previous breaches of the platform's community guidelines. As part of the investigation with the BBC, Open Democracy analyzed Emmanuel TV's online presence, finding at least 50 abusive videos on YouTube. Their team reported the videos to YouTube and the account was suspended on the 29th of January. In a comment to the BBC, the Google-owned video sharing platform said Emmanuel TV had been terminated for violating hate speech policies. TB Joshua was famed for his healing ministries and filmed hundreds of services that claimed to show him curing the physically disabled and chronically ill, which multiple former church members have subsequently debunked.
Now, health ministers from the Southern African Development Community have rejected a proposal to declare cholera a public health emergency in the region. Sylvia Masebo, the Africa Center for Disease Control Board chairperson, on Wednesday said individual countries should independently decide whether to declare the cholera outbreak as a health emergency or not. Speaking during the CDC extraordinary session in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, Ms. Masebo, who is also Zambia's health minister, urged member states to develop proactive interventions to curb the spread of the current outbreak. She said the outbreak had affected about 15 Sadc member states. Zambia is among countries battling the worst of outbreak in decades, with nearly 600 deaths and more than 16,000 cases reported since last October.
The African Union on Tuesday called for dialogue between the Economic Community of West African states and junta-led countries Niger, Mali and Burkina Faso, who have said they will leave the bloc. The trio's decision to exit ECOWAS, which they announced on Sunday, is a blow to the bloc's regional integration efforts after it suspended them following coups. The AU had backed ECOWAS efforts to restore democracy. The chairperson of the African Union Commission, H.A. Musa Faki Mohamed, learned with deep regret of the announcement of the withdrawal of Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso from ECOWAS, the AU said in a statement. He calls for combined efforts so that the irreplaceable unity of ECOWAS is preserved and African solidarity strengthened.
Now, all states have an obligation to stop funding and facilitating Israel's military actions in Gaza after the World Court made clear those actions could be genocidal, South Africa's foreign minister said on Wednesday. The International Court of Justice last week ordered Israel to take all measures within its power to prevent its troops from committing genocide and take steps to improve the humanitarian situation of Palestinians in Gaza in a case brought by South Africa. It stopped short of demanding a ceasefire and has not yet ruled on the core of South Africa's case, where the genocide has occurred in Gaza. That ruling could take years. South Africa has for decades been an advocate for the Palestinian cause, comparing the plight of Palestinians to that of black South Africans under apartheid. Israel has denied allegations of genocide and rejects the comparison to the apartheid era. Foreign Minister Naledi Pandor also said she had met the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court last week to discuss a joint referral South Africa made in November with other countries about the situation in Palestinian territories. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. After the break, we say Buribanji to Mike Sichula.
Neo Paints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neo Paints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neo Paints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
Thank you for staying with Africa Good Morning. Joining us is Mike Sichula in Zambia with the latest story. Mike, Wadiwanji.
Tiribuino Muribwanji. Africa Good Morning to our dear viewers.
Tiribuino. Now, as Zambia in the health sector is grappling to try and contain the cholera outbreak, there is a little bit of light with regards to its previous achievements, because Zambia has been awarded the Service Award in recognizing the outstanding contribution in the fight against COVID in Africa. Tell us more.
Yes, something positive coming out there, considering that even as Zambia, you have likely put it, Zambia is facing a huge cholera outbreak that has put pressure on the health system. But however, the regional body and World Health Organization seems to have recognized Zambia in terms of its contribution in the fight against COVID in Africa. So for our viewers, Zambia did record more than 340 COVID cases, 400 COVID cases, and about over 4,000 people died during that period since the disease first broke out in Zambia on 18th March 2020. So over the years, the African Center for Disease Control is pleased to have awarded Zambia this award, considering that the measures that were put in place by the then administration did yield positive results, considering that the pressure was too much for Zambia, that did not, like many other countries, that did not have the facilities by then to fight the COVID pandemic. So this is something that authorities have also recognized, and they are saying that they are pleased that the Africa Center Disease Control is able to recognize the efforts that Zambia has put in the fight against COVID. Then also, the COVID cases are still high in Zambia during this period. But the good part is that most of the people were vaccinated, and the symptoms are not that severe.
Now, moving on, still on a positive note, Zambia has improved on its corruption perception index score for the first time in a decade.
Yeah, this is according to Transparency International Zambia that launched the 2023 Corruption Perception Index, which has shown that Zambia has made a 4-point improvement from 33 in 2022 to 37 in 2023, thereby improving the ranking from 116 to 98 out of 180 countries assessed by the International Corruption Body. So this comes after many years of declining records for Zambia, considering that the previous administration under President Edgar Lungu was perceived to be one of the corrupt administrations to have ever ruled Zambia. So this improvement, this 4-point lead, comes as a pat on the back of the administration of President Hakainde Hichilema, who has been so strong against corruption in the country. However, some stakeholders are still calling for more action moving forward if corruption has to be to be curtailed. So it is something that other stakeholders involved in the corruption fight are hoping that the current Anti-Corruption Commission plus other government agencies are going to step up so that the next time the Corruption Perception Index comes out, Zambia should even score better or higher than the score that they have managed during the 2023 Corruption Perception Index.
All right. Now, the price of fuel has reached 1.25 per litre, the highest in Zambia's history.
Yes, this is the highest, and it is coming at a time when the President Hakainde Hichilema, during his time when he was in opposition, remember he spent almost 15 years in opposition. So during his time as he was restoring power from the PF administration, he did promise Zambians that the price of fuel was not going to be as high as it was during the previous administration. But 2 years in his administration, the price of fuel has hit record highs. And when members of this government are asked about this, they have been blaming the previous administration, saying the subsidies that they had put in place to cushion the high cost of fuel, considering that the price of fuel is normally detected by foreign exchange and what is happening in international boundaries. So they are saying they cannot subsidize the price of fuel because it is better to subsidize people to have free education, people to have to get some free to have equipment in hospitals, unlike subsidizing fuel, which to some sectors of the administration they are saying it is only benefiting the majority in urban areas and not in rural areas. So this is a huge debate in Zambia, and a number of people are complaining because they believe this is likely going to affect small businesses, and also it is going to further accelerate the price of doing business in Zambia and just the cost of living. So authorities are not saying anything as that could be done to cushion the high cost of fuel.
Well, we do hope that eventually it does come down, because fuel, you know, carries over into other things. Moving on, in sports, Zambia ladies team will take on Tanzania this Saturday for a place in the Under-17 Women's World Cup.
Yes, this is one of the teams that some of the players that are featuring for the Zambians Under-17 Women's National Team are likely to take over from the likes of Babla Banda, Kundalecho Kundananji, Grace Chanda, among others who are playing as Copa Queens. So Zambia's women's coach, Carlo Kayembe, says the team is almost ready for the FIFA Women's World Cup second round back-to-back qualifier against Tanzania this weekend. she believes that the work done so far is 80% with the final, and also that Zambia is likely should pick up a good point against Tanzania, so that when they take on Tanzania in a week's time, they should be on the better side. So the winner of the two legs will face Uganda or Cameroon in the third round. Then three African teams are expected to qualify for the 2024 FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup to be held in Dominican Republic after a round of 4 qualifiers. So it is one of those matches that a lot of people are expected to attend, considering that women football in Zambia is gaining popularity very fast, especially after Zambia picked out a bronze medal at the WAFCON. And also, most people now seem to be settled with supporting the female team as opposed to the men's team, because they think the men's team brings a lot of headache, considering that the results are not coming as they expect. So it is likely to be a filled stadium at Nkoloma Stadium this Saturday.
Go Copper Queens, go. Thank you, Mike, for bringing us the news stories from the real Africa, Zambia.
Thank you very much. Have a blessed weekend.
All right, a blessed weekend we hope to have indeed, and something that is essential for that is the weather. Have a look at the predictions. In economic news, China secured its position as the world's largest automobile exporter in 2023, surpassing Japan for the first time, driven by robust overseas sales of electric vehicles. Japan exported 4.42 million vehicles in 2023, marking a 16% increase from the previous year, as reported by the Japan Automobile Manufacturers Association on Wednesday, January 31. However, this figure fell short of China's 4.91 million vehicle exports in the same year, a remarkable 58% surge compared to 2022.
Kenya's President William Ruto was celebrated last year when he announced his country would be going visa-free for African visitors, but many have been surprised by the new requirements, which have introduced fresh costs and paperwork for some. Adio, a Zimbabwean citizen living in Germany, was not anticipating any issues at Bremen Airport when he arrived for his flight to Kenya earlier this month. But at the check-in desk, he was asked to show a document saying he had permission to enter Kenya. We had a short argument at the counter. I insisted I didn't need one, said the 33-year-old who works in the tech sector. Had he traveled a week earlier, Adio would have been right. Nationals of Zimbabwe, along with more than 40 other countries, including several from Africa, were previously able to arrive in Kenya, get a stamp on their passport, and enter without paying. So when Kenya announced it will be visa-free for everybody from the 1st of January 2024, Adio thought the same rules would apply. Once I scanned my phone to find the new details on entry into Kenya, I then realized visa-free wasn't really visa-free at all, he told the BBC. He spent the next few hours frantically going through various agencies to fast-track the new application process, which cost him around $160 US.
And by the time the documentation came through, he had already missed the first leg of his flight. William Ruto needs to handle that one. Let's head to the indicators just before Ari comes through with the sport. Just before I hand you over to Ari, the biggest news in the sporting world is that Lewis Hamilton has moved from Mercedes-Benz to Ferrari. An incredible move. Arguably, not arguably, literally the biggest transfer in Formula One history. Ferrari stocks went up 6% just at the announcement alone yesterday. It's a huge one, and it's interesting because Michael Schumacher started at Ferrari, ended at Mercedes, and it looks like Lewis Hamilton is doing it the other way around. We'll certainly be excited to see how that goes. Let's have a look at what you can expect from AFCON this weekend. It's Nigeria and Angola today at 7 p.m., DR Congo and Guinea at 10, and then tomorrow Mali takes on Ivory Coast and Cape Verde take on South Africa. Here's Ari Hochad with the rest of the sport.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with soccer news first. It is news from the English Premier League and a few midweek games that was played, important games that was played by the lot leaders, and it is Liverpool that beat Chelsea at home, a big win for them. They beat them by 4-1. By that, Liverpool now have 51 points on the table after 22 games. They're leading on the table, and behind them on 46 points after 21 games is Manchester City, and they beat Burnley as well by 3-1. That was also at home. So those two teams contending, and also with Arsenal on the same amount of points. Arsenal's got 46 points after 22 games. Important game coming up this coming Sunday, and that will be Arsenal that will host Liverpool. So it's effectively number 1 and tied number 2 that will play on Sunday. That is a 6:30 kickoff time in the English Premier League. Another game that was played, that was Tottenham Hotspur. They beat Brentford in an exciting game by 3-2. Moving on to rugby news, it is the Six Nations that will start this coming weekend. Exciting rugby, and it is a very interesting first one. It will be France that will host Ireland, and that game will be played in Marseille. That is already on Friday. Team news is that Antoine Dupont, the influential captain of France in the World Cup, is not playing in the Six Nations. He's going to focus on the Sevens code, and that is because he wants to qualify for France's Sevens rugby team. That's because the Olympic Games is going to be in Paris, and Antoine Dupont is trying to make that team. He will probably make that team, but he's getting used to how they play. He will be replaced on scrum half by Maxime Lucu, and he will be the scrum half against Ireland. Also, Paul Willemse makes a comeback in the lock position. He was injured in the World Cup. That is Paul Willemse, South African born. Also in the Ireland team, it is Johnny Sexton that retired from international rugby. He's not going to be able, he's not playing fly-off for them in that game. He's replaced by Jack Crowley, and also it is Ireland that opted for a 6-2 split on the bench, not the traditional 5-3 split. And that game is going to be played on Friday in Marseille. That's the first of the Six Nations games starting this weekend.
All right, that's our show. Thank you for staying with Africa Good Morning throughout the week. From Glenn Rashapura and Ashwin Berry, Seraja Kanaka.